You're splitting an apartment with a roommate, and you've agreed to alternate doing the dishes. For a few weeks, it works. Then, on a Wednesday night, you come home to a sink full of dirty plates. You let it slide once, but by Sunday, the pile is spilling onto the counters. You end up doing them yourself to keep the kitchen usable. When the following Wednesday rolls around, the sink is overflowing again. Now you face a choice. Do you keep cleaning up after them, or do you leave the mess to grow? This scenario maps directly onto the prisoner's dilemma, a foundational concept in game theory. In nearly every interaction, whether between two roommates or two nations, participants must decide between cooperating for a shared benefit or defecting to protect their own interests. This payoff matrix shows why the conflict is so difficult to resolve. If you look at the potential results in a strict one-off interaction, the mathematically dominant choice is to defect. Since you can't control the other person, defecting ensures you either take advantage of a cooperator or, at the very least, protect yourself from being exploited by another defector. If human existence were nothing more than a series of isolated, one-off interactions with strangers, ruthless selfishness would be the most efficient way to survive. But we don't live in a vacuum. Human interactions are iterated. We share leases with roommates, businesses sign multi-year contracts, and neighboring nations share borders. We have to face each other again tomorrow. In 1980, political scientist Robert Axelrod sought to determine which strategy actually wins when these interactions repeat over time. He wanted to find a mathematical basis for cooperation. Axelrod organized a computer tournament where different behavioral algorithms competed against one another. Each matchup consisted of 200 rounds of the prisoner's dilemma, with programs accumulating points based on whether they chose to cooperate or defect. Theorists from around the world submitted their code. The programs ranged from straightforward logic trees to highly intricate subroutines that utilized randomized moves and complex calculations to try and exploit their opponents. When the simulations ended, the results surprised the entire field. The most sophisticated, manipulative programs were defeated by the simplest submission in the tournament. The winner was a program called tit for tat. Its logic was only 4 lines of code. It starts the first round by cooperating, and in every round after that, it simply mirrors whatever its opponent did on the previous turn. The data revealed a paradox. In head-to-head matchups, tit for tat never actually won a single game. It could only draw or lose by a small margin. Yet, because it maintains steady scores across every single opponent, it ended the tournament with the highest overall point total. We can deconstruct this success through 4 pillars. The first is that the algorithm is nice. In a game theory context, this means the program is hard-coded to never be the first one to defect. Aggressive, nasty strategies operate differently. They constantly probe for weakness, striking first to steal points from unsuspecting cooperators. Because they are aggressive, these programs trigger immediate retaliation. They lock themselves into infinite loops of mutual defection, which rapidly drains resources on both sides. Tit-for-tat's niceness acts as a mathematical shield. By refusing to strike first, it avoids the resource drain of unnecessary conflict. The second pillar is that tit-for-tat is retaliatory. It is not a pushover. If an opponent defects, tit-for-tat strikes back on the very next turn. Programs that were purely nice, those that cooperated regardless of the opponent's behavior, were mathematically bled dry. Swift retaliation is necessary to establish a boundary that prevents an opponent from profiting through manipulation. However, retaliation is balanced by the third pillar, forgiveness. When an opponent cooperates again, tit-for-tat drops hostility and cooperates as well. Compare this to grudge-holding algorithms. These programs were designed to punish an opponent for the remainder of the match if they were betrayed even once in the early rounds. As this chart shows, grudges are mathematically self-defeating. A grudge match line flatlines, while a tit-for-tat match dips during the conflict before skyrocketing back toward high scores once the cycle of defection is broken. Forgiveness is a mechanism for restoring mutual profitability. It provides the only viable way to escape a death spiral of defection and resume earning points. The final pillar is clarity. Tit-for-tat won because its logic was easy for its opponents to predict. Cunning algorithms, on the other hand, tried to use complex logic and random moves to confuse their opponents and hide their intentions. This complexity backfired. Because opposing programs couldn't read the intent behind those random moves, they interpreted them as unprovoked attacks. This triggered accidental, permanent wars that ruined the scores of both players. Simple, transparent behavior creates a predictable environment. It encourages other programs to cooperate because the rewards and punishments are perfectly clear, naturally fostering a more productive ecosystem. The tournament results show that a strategy focused on winning every individual battle is the least effective way to win the macro game. In a lifetime of interactions, accepting occasional draws or minor losses is required for long-term success. You cannot extract the maximum value from every single encounter without eventually isolating yourself. A true winning strategy focuses on maximizing mutual gains over an extended timeline, rather than defeating the person across from you. Real life is messier than a computer tournament. Human beings are emotional, spiteful, and prone to misinterpreting the actions of others. Axelrod's findings serve as a practical compass for navigating that unpredictability. They demonstrate proportional consequences work best when paired with a consistently open door for cooperation. Practicing kindness, firmness, and forgiveness results in a mathematically verified optimum for navigating life. So when your Sunday comes around, just do the dishes.